The Galactic Concord had watched humanity for 30 years. 7 alien races, each older than human civilization itself, observed from their massive space stations as humans spread across the stars. They watched humans build colonies on distant worlds. They watched humans establish trade routes between systems. They watched humans make friends with every species they encountered, and it made them deeply uncomfortable. Ambassador Kethivoran of the Draxil Empire stood in the Great Council chamber, his scaled green skin reflecting the harsh lights above. His people had conquered 12 star systems through war and bloodshed. They respected strength. They understood violence. But humans confused them completely. They do not fight, Kethivoran said, his voice dripping with disgust. In 30 years of expansion, they have not conquered a single world. They ask permission. They negotiate. They share their technology freely with lesser species. The other council members shifted uneasily. The insect-like Velkari clicked their mandibles in agreement. The crystal beings called the Tauren hummed with nervous energy. Even the blob-like Quorith wobbled with concern. High Arbiter Yenis, the oldest of the Tauren, spoke in deep musical tones. "What troubles you about peace, Ambassador?" "Peace is a mask," Kethivoran replied. "Every species in this galaxy fights. It is the natural order. The humans pretend to be gentle, but no species reaches the stars without aggression. They are hiding something. They are waiting for the right moment to strike." The council murmured. Kethivoran had touched on a fear that all of them shared. Humans were too nice, too friendly, too helpful. It had to be a trick. "What do you suggest?" asked the Velkar delegate. Kethivoran smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "We force them to show their true nature. We demand conflict. If they fight back, we will know they are warriors like us, simply hiding their strength. If they refuse to fight, we destroy them before they can become a threat." The vote was held. The motion passed with only the Quorith abstaining. 3 days later, 200 Draxil warships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. They were massive vessels, each one bristling with weapons that had burned countless worlds. The fleet hung in space like a cloud of death, blocking out the distant stars. Their message was broadcast on every frequency. "Humans of Earth, you will surrender the colony worlds of Kepler 7, New Helsinki, and Frontier Station. You will accept Draxil authority over your species. You will provide 1 million humans each year as labor tribute. Failure to comply will result in the complete destruction of your homeworld. You have 72 hours to respond." On Earth, the message arrived in the middle of the night. Emergency systems activated across the planet. Leaders were woken from their sleep. Military commanders rushed to their posts in Geneva. Secretary General Maria Santos sat in her office and watched the alien transmission for the 3rd time. She was 54 years old, a woman from New Mexico, who had spent her entire career trying to build connections between people. She had helped end 3 regional conflicts on Earth. She had negotiated the first trade agreements with alien species. She had always believed that communication could solve any problem. Now she faced an enemy that did not want to talk. Admiral Victor Reyes arrived within the hour. He was a tall man in his 60s, with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen many crises. He commanded all of Earth's military forces, both on the ground and in space. "How bad is it?" Maria asked. Victor sat down across from her. "Their fleet is 4 times the size of ours. Their ships are bigger, their weapons are proven in combat. If we fight them directly, we lose." "Options." "We have some," Victor said carefully. "But I need to show you something first. Something that most of the government doesn't know exists." Maria raised an eyebrow. "What kind of something?" "The kind that we hoped we would never need to use." 2 hours later, Maria stood in a massive underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. The complex stretched for miles in every direction. Filled with technology she had never seen before, Dr. Samuel Burke greeted her at the entrance. He was a quiet man from Ohio, the kind of person you might meet at a grocery store and never remember. He wore a simple sweater and glasses that made him look like a college professor. "Secretary General," he said, shaking her hand. "I wish we were meeting under better circumstances. "What is this place?" Maria asked. Samuel led her through corridors filled with humming machines and busy technicians. When humanity first made contact with alien life, our government faced a difficult question. What if they weren't friendly? What if, despite our best hopes, we encountered species that wanted to harm us? They entered a vast chamber where holographic displays showed weapon systems, defensive platforms, and fleet formations. We started preparing, quietly, secretly. We studied every alien species we encountered. We learned their technology, their tactics, their weaknesses. We built weapons they have never seen. Maria stared at the displays. All of this hidden from the public? From everyone, Samuel confirmed. We didn't want to be warlike. We didn't want other species to see us as a threat, but we also couldn't afford to be helpless. Victor stepped forward. The Draxel think they're attacking a peaceful species with a small defense fleet. They have no idea what they're actually facing. Maria took a deep breath. Show me everything. For the next 6 hours, she received briefings on systems with code names like Cascade, Swarm, and Gravity Well. She learned about tens of thousands of autonomous drones hidden throughout the solar system. She learned about weapons platforms disguised as mining stations. She learned about technologies that could tear apart enemy ships without risking a single human life. When it was over, she sat in silence for a long moment. Why didn't anyone tell me about this? She finally asked. Plausible deniability, Victor explained. If our leaders didn't know about these systems, they couldn't accidentally reveal them. Every diplomatic meeting, every peaceful gesture, every act of friendship, it was all genuine. The aliens saw exactly what we wanted them to see. A peaceful species, Maria whispered. A peaceful species that is very, very good at solving problems, Samuel added. War is just another problem, Secretary General. A terrible one, but a problem nonetheless. And humans are excellent at solving problems. Maria stood up and walked to the main display. The Draxel fleet hung there, 200 red dots against the blackness of space. 72 hours until they attacked. 72 hours until they learned the truth about humanity. I want to try diplomacy first, she said. One final attempt to end this without bloodshed? Victor nodded. Of course. And if they refuse? Maria turned to face him, her expression hard. Then we show them what humans can do when we have no other choice. She recorded her message that night. It was calm, reasonable, and honest. She explained that humanity did not want war. She explained that they would make reasonable compromises to avoid conflict. She explained that Earth posed no threat to the Draxel Empire, and then she added a warning. If you force us to fight, she said, looking directly into the camera, we will respond. Not with hatred or anger, but with everything we have. We solve problems, Admiral Cathvorin. I beg you not to make yourselves a problem we need to solve. The response came to hours later. Cathvorin was laughing. Empty words from a weak species. You have 65 hours remaining. Enjoy them. Maria closed the transmission. She had tried. She had truly tried. Now there was no other choice. She turned to Victor Reyes.
Admiral.
Begin preparations. If they want conflict, we will give them exactly what they asked for. The clock was ticking. 65 hours remained until the Draxel deadline. And humanity was preparing for war in ways the galaxy had never seen, deep beneath the surface of Earth. In facilities that stretched across 3 continents, thousands of people worked without rest. Engineers checked systems that had waited decades for this moment. Scientists ran final calculations on weapons that existed only in theory until now. Soldiers trained on equipment their enemies could not imagine. Dr. Samuel Burke stood at the center of it all, coordinating operations from his command center in the Rocky Mountains. He had slept only 4 hours in the last 2 days, surviving on coffee and determination. His screen showed 100 different readouts, each one representing a piece of humanity's hidden arsenal. Status on the orbital platforms? He asked. A young technician named Amy Patterson checked her display. All 63 platforms are online and charging. They'll be at full power within 12 hours. The drone networks. 45,000 units confirmed active. Another 30,000 in reserve. All AI systems are functioning within normal parameters. Samuel nodded. The drones were perhaps their greatest advantage. Each one was small, barely larger than a person, but equipped with weapons that could cripple a warship. More importantly, they thought for themselves. No human pilots needed. No human lives at risk. Across the solar system, the human fleet was gathering near Earth. 47 ships in total, ranging from small destroyers to the massive carrier Endurance. It looked pitiful compared to the Draxel Armada, but appearances were deceiving. Commander Diana Cole stood on the bridge of the Endurance, watching her crew prepare for battle. She was 41 years old, a Navy veteran who had transferred to space operations when Earth first started building warships. She had trained for this moment. Her entire career, even while hoping it would never come. "All stations report ready," said Lieutenant Kevin Marsh, her tactical officer. He was young, barely 30, with the kind of nervous energy that came from knowing they were about to make history. "Or the crew?" Diana asked, scared Kevin admitted, but focused. "They trust you, Commander." Diana almost smiled. "They trust the plan. I'm just the one giving orders. It's a plan." She had memorized every detail, every contingency, every variable. Humanity was not going to fight this war the way the Draxel expected. They were not going to line up their ships and exchange fire until one side was destroyed. They were going to fight smart. Back on Earth, Maria Santos was handling a different kind of preparation. News of the alien ultimatum had spread across the planet, and people were frightened. She needed to address them. She stood before cameras in the United Nations building, looking into the eyes of 8 billion people. "My fellow humans," she began. "By now, you have heard about the threat facing our world. The Draxel Empire has demanded our surrender. They believe we are weak because we choose peace over war." As she paused, letting her words settle. "They are wrong. For 30 years, we have reached out to the galaxy with open hands. We have traded fairly. We have shared our knowledge freely. We have treated every species we encountered with respect and kindness. Some have mistaken this for weakness. They think that because we do not start fights, we cannot finish them." Her voice grew stronger. "Let me be absolutely clear. We do not seek this conflict. We have done everything possible to avoid it. But we will not surrender. We will not bow to those who threaten our children, our homes, our future. If the Draxel want war, they will discover that humanity knows how to defend itself." The speech was broadcast to every colony, every ship, every corner of human space. People who had been panicking began to calm down. Fear turned into determination. Humanity was not going to run. Meanwhile, Admiral Cathforan watched the human broadcast from his flagship. He laughed so hard that his aides grew concerned. "Listen to them," he said, wiping tears from his reptilian eyes. "They actually believe they can win. 47 ships against 200. They are either brave or stupid." "Perhaps both," suggested his second-in-command, a younger Draxel named Torok. "Should we be concerned about their confidence?" "They are bluffing," Cathforan said dismissively. "We have studied their fleet. We know their weapons, their shields, their capabilities. They have nothing that can challenge us. In 2 days, we will crush them, and the galaxy will see what happens to species that do not know their place." He was wrong, of course. Catastrophically wrong. But he would not understand that until it was too late. At the hidden facility beneath Colorado, Samuel Burke was having a conversation with Victor Reyes. The Admiral had come down to inspect the preparations personally. "The Cascade system," Victor said, studying the technical readouts. "You're certain it will work?" Samuel adjusted his glasses. "The math is solid. We've tested components individually, but we've never fired all 63 platforms simultaneously. There's always some uncertainty with first combat deployment. Best estimate? 93% success rate. Each platform can destroy or disable a capital ship with a single focus shot. Recharge time is approximately 4 minutes." Victor did the calculations in his head. If everything worked perfectly, they could eliminate a third of the Draxel fleet in the opening minutes of combat. And the gravity wells? Riskier, Samuel admitted. The technology is still experimental. We can create localized distortions in space-time that will tear apart anything caught inside them. But the range is limited, and the power requirements are enormous. Save them for the flagship, Victor decided. If we can take out their command structure early, the rest might break. There's one more thing, Samuel said. He pulled up a new display, showing a small device that looked almost like a silver egg. We call it the Echo Protocol. It's a last resort. Victor studied the device. What does it do? If activated, it will broadcast a signal to every AI system in the solar system. Every drone, every platform, every automated defense will switch to independent operation. They'll continue fighting until the enemy is destroyed or they run out of power. You're talking about removing human control entirely. Only if we're losing, Samuel said quietly. Only if there's no other choice. The machines won't stop. They won't retreat. They won't negotiate. They'll just keep fighting until there's nothing left to fight. Victor was silent for a long moment. The implications were staggering. Let's hope we don't need it. Across the solar system, final preparations continued. Ships loaded ammunition. Platforms aligned their targeting systems. Drones ran through their combat algorithms one last time, in Geneva. Maria Santos sat alone in her office, staring at a photograph of her grandchildren. They were 6 and 8 years old, too young to understand what was happening, too young to know that their grandmother was about to make decisions that would determine the fate of their species. She had spent her entire life believing that violence was never the answer. She had negotiated peace treaties. She had built bridges between enemies. She had proven over and over again the communication could solve any problem. But the Draxel did not want to communicate. They wanted submission. They wanted fear. They wanted humans to kneel. Maria put down the photograph. Her hands were steady. Her mind was clear. She had tried everything else. Now it was time to show the galaxy what happened when humanity had no other choice. The clock continued counting down. 36 hours until the deadline. 36 hours until humanity would answer the question that the Galactic Concord had asked. Could a peaceful species fight? They were about to find out. The Draxel fleet began its advance at exactly midnight. Earth Standard Time. 200 warships moved through space in perfect formation, their engines glowing like angry stars. Admiral Kethvorin stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Crushing Dawn, watching the human defense line grow larger on his display. 47 ships, he said with contempt. They're not even running. They actually intend to fight, Brave Torak observed. Foolish, but brave. Bravery without power is meaningless, Kethvorin replied. Signal all ships. Standard attack formation. We will break through their line and proceed directly to Earth. I want this finished within 6 hours. Across the void, Commander Diana Cole received reports of the enemy advance. She stood perfectly still on the bridge of the Endurance, watching the red dots move closer on her tactical display. Her crew worked around her in focused silence. All ships report ready, Kevin Marsh announced. Drone networks are standing by. Orbital platforms are charged and awaiting your command. Diana took a deep breath. Open a channel to the fleet. Her voice went out to every human ship in the system. This is Commander Cole. The enemy is advancing. Remember your training. Remember your purpose. We fight not because we want to, but because we must. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity can do. She paused. All ships hold position. Do not engage until my signal. Let them come to us. The Draxel fleet continued forward, crossing the orbital path of Neptune, then Uranus. They moved with the confidence of warriors who had never lost a major battle. Their weapons were hot. Their shields were up. They were ready for anything, or so they thought. Now entering optimal range for Cascade platforms, Amy Patterson reported from the command center beneath Colorado. Samuel Burke stood beside her, his eyes fixed on the main display. Targeting solutions confirmed, another technician called out. All platforms have lock. Samuel picked up his communicator. Admiral Reyes, this is Burke. We are ready to fire on your command. Victor Reyes stood in the military command center in Geneva, surrounded by screens showing every aspect of the battle. Maria Santos was beside him, her face pale but determined. "Do it," Victor said. Samuel gave the order. "All platforms, fire." 63 weapons platforms hidden throughout the outer solar system activated simultaneously. They had been disguised as mining stations, communication relays, research outposts. For 30 years, they had waited. Now, they revealed their true purpose. Beams of focused energy lanced across millions of kilometers of space. They struck the Draxel fleet without warning, without mercy. Without any chance to react, 17 ships died in the first 3 seconds. On the bridge of the crushing dawn, alarm screamed as Admiral Kethvorn watched his fleet begin to burn. Ships exploded around him, their wreckage spinning into the void. Warriors who had fought 100 battles died before they could even understand what was happening. "What is this?" Kethvorn roared. "Where's the attack coming from?" "Unknown, Admiral." His tactical officer shouted. "The weapons fire is originating from multiple points across the system. We cannot identify the sources, then find them. Return fire. Do something." The Draxel fleet broke formation, ships scattering as they tried to escape the invisible death raining down on them. But the platforms were already recharging, already selecting new targets. 4 minutes later, another volley struck. 12 more ships vanished. On the Endurance, Diana Cole watched the chaos unfold. "Launch the swarm," she ordered. From hiding places throughout the asteroid belt, 40,000 autonomous drones emerged. They were small, fast, and nearly impossible to track. Each one carried a single antimatter warhead, enough to cripple any ship unlucky enough to be hit. The drones did not attack in formation. They did not follow predictable patterns. Their AI brains made independent decisions, finding weaknesses, exploiting gaps. Overwhelming point defense systems through sheer numbers. They swarmed like angry insects, and the Draxel had never seen anything like them. "They're everywhere," Torak shouted, watching his display fill with thousands of hostile contacts. "Our point defense cannot track them all. Concentrate fire," Kethvorn ordered. "All ships, focus on the drones." It was exactly the wrong decision. While the Draxel fleet turned their attention to the swarm, the human warships finally moved. Diana Cole's voice was calm as she gave orders. "All ships, begin Phase 2. Target their command vessels. Fire at will." The human fleet attacked from an unexpected angle, using the chaos of the drone swarm as cover. Their weapons were different from anything the Draxel had encountered. Missiles that changed direction mid-flight, energy beams that bent around shields, torpedoes that seemed to disappear and reappear inside enemy ships. The Draxel flagship shuddered as 3 missiles struck its hull. Alarms wailed. Damage reports flooded in from every deck. "Hull breach on decks 7 through 12. An officer screamed. "Shields are failing." Kethvorn gripped his command chair as another explosion rocked the ship. His fleet was dying around him. 90 ships destroyed in the first hour of combat. His warriors, the finest soldiers the Empire had ever produced, were being slaughtered by an enemy that was not even present. "Where are the human ships?" he demanded. "Why aren't they fighting properly?" "They are staying at range," Torak reported. "Using the drones as a screen. We cannot close with them." "Then retreat. Signal all ships to withdraw at a safe distance." But retreat was not easy when your enemy controlled the battlefield. As the surviving Draxel ships tried to pull back, they flew directly into the gravity wells. Dr. Samuel Burke had theorized about weaponized gravity manipulation for 20 years. The mathematics were beautiful, but terrifying. By creating concentrated distortions in space-time, you could crush anything caught inside. The technology was experimental, untested in combat, and absolutely devastating. The crushing dawn was the first to feel its effects. The flagship suddenly found itself caught in invisible forces that pulled at its hull from every direction. Metal screamed. Structural supports buckled. Warriors were thrown against walls as the ship's artificial gravity went insane. What is happening? Kethvorin shouted as his world twisted around him. Unknown spatial distortion, his science officer yelled. Our instruments cannot explain it. The ship held together for almost 30 seconds. Then, with a sound like the universe itself tearing apart, the crushing dawn crumpled like paper. Admiral Kethvorin died, still not understanding what had killed him. The death of the flagship sent panic through the Draxel fleet. Without their commander, without their coordination, ships began to scatter in every direction. Some tried to fight. Some tried to flee. Some simply shut down, their crews too stunned to respond. The human forces did not let them escape. Drones pursued fleeing ships. Orbital platforms picked off isolated targets. The human fleet moved systematically through the chaos, finishing off crippled vessels and accepting surrenders from those wise enough to offer them in Geneva. Maria Santos watched the battle unfold on her screens. She felt no joy, no triumph, only a deep sadness for all the lives being lost. 173 enemy ships destroyed or disabled, Victor reported. Human casualties, 0. Maria repeated. We did this without losing a single person. That was the point, Victor said quietly. We designed our weapons to protect human life above all else. The drones, the platforms, the automated systems, they fight so our people don't have to. The remaining Draxel ships were surrendering now, their crews broadcasting desperate pleas for mercy. The battle was over. It had lasted less than 4 hours. In the command center beneath Colorado, Samuel Burke sat down heavily. His hands were shaking. The weapons he had built, the systems he had designed, had just killed tens of thousands of beings. We did what we had to do, Amy Patterson said softly. No, Samuel replied. That doesn't make it easier. On the Endurance, Diana Cole ordered her fleet to stand down. All ships, cease fire. Begin rescue operations for any survivors. Remember, we are not like them. We do not kill those who cannot fight back. The human fleet spread out across the battlefield, pulling survivors from wreckage, providing medical care to wounded enemy soldiers. It was perhaps the strangest sight the galaxy had ever seen. A species that had just won a devastating victory, now working to save the lives of those who had tried to destroy them. Maria Santos recorded a message to the Galactic Concord. That night, the Draxel fleet has been neutralized. We take no pleasure in this victory. We mourn the lives lost on both sides. But let this serve as a lesson to anyone who mistakes our preference for peace as an inability to wage war. She looked directly into the camera. We did not want this, but we were ready for it. We always will be. The survivors of the Draxel fleet limped back to Concord space, carrying stories that no one wanted to believe. They spoke of invisible weapons that struck from across the solar system. They described swarms of machines that thought for themselves. They whispered about forces that crushed ships like toys, and they spoke of something else. Something that disturbed the Council even more than the defeat itself. The humans saved us. A Draxel captain named Varric reported to the Council. He had commanded a destroyer that had been crippled early in the battle. His ship had drifted helplessly for hours, his crew slowly running out of air. When the fighting ended, their ships came to help. They pulled us from the wreckage. They treated our wounded. They gave us food and water. High Arbiter Yennis of the Tauren leaned forward. They showed mercy to their enemies. More than mercy, Varric said. They apologized. Their commander, a female named Cole, contacted me personally. She said she was sorry that we had to fight. She said she hoped that one day our species could be friends. The council chamber fell silent. This was not how wars were supposed to end. The victor was supposed to humiliate the defeated. They were supposed to take slaves, demand tribute, force submission. They were not supposed to apologize. 173 ships, the Velkari delegate chittered nervously. The finest fleet the Draxel Empire has ever assembled. Destroyed in less than 4 hours, and not a single human died. Impossible, someone muttered. I saw it, Varric replied. I watched it happen. They did not fight like any species I have ever encountered. They did not charge into battle seeking glory. They did not take risks. They simply eliminated us, efficiently, precisely, without passion. Like solving a problem, High Arbiter, Yennis said slowly. They treated the battle as a problem to be solved, as Varric agreed, and they were very good at solving it. The council debated for 3 days. Some wanted to send a larger fleet to avenge the defeat and prove that the elder races were still supreme. Others argued for negotiation, pointing out that humanity had shown restraint by not pursuing the survivors. In the end, it was the Koreth delegate who spoke the most sense. We demanded conflict, it said, its gelatinous body rippling. They responded. What did we expect? We pushed them, and they pushed back harder than we imagined possible. Perhaps it is time to try a different approach. While the council debated, Maria Santos prepared for a different kind of battle. The military victory was meaningless if it led to endless war. She needed to turn this moment of triumph into lasting peace. We're receiving communications from several Concord races, her aide reported. The Valkyrie want to discuss a non-aggression treaty. The Tauren are interested in scientific exchange. Even some Draxel clans are reaching out through back channels. Maria nodded. Fear can be the beginning of respect. Respect can become understanding. Understanding can grow into friendship. We've taken the first step. Now we need to take the next ones. She recorded a message to the Galactic Concord, carefully choosing her words. Members of the Concord, 3 days ago, your forces attacked our homeworld without provocation. We defended ourselves. Many lives were lost, and we mourned them all, including the Draxel warriors who died because their leaders made a terrible mistake. She paused. But we do not seek revenge. We do not want conquest. We want what we have always wanted, peace, trade, and friendship. The door is open. All you have to do is walk through it. The response came faster than anyone expected. High Arbiter. Yennis requested a direct conversation with Secretary General Santos. It was the first time a senior Concord official had spoken to a human leader as an equal. Your species confuses us, Yennis admitted. You have the power to destroy us all. After what we did, you would be justified in doing so. Yet you offer friendship? Would you rather we offered war? Maria asked. No, Yennis said slowly. I suppose I would not. But I do not understand you. Why are you like this? Maria considered the question carefully. We have a long history, High Arbiter. A history filled with violence and cruelty. We have fought terrible wars against ourselves. We have done things that still shame us. But through all of that, we learned something. Important. What did you learn? That destruction is easy. Building is hard. Killing is simple. Healing takes time. We can conquer, yes. But conquering creates enemies. Enemies create threats. Threats create wars. And wars create nothing but suffering. Maria shook her head. We choose to build instead. We choose to heal. We choose to make friends, not enemies. Even with those who attacked you? Especially with those who attacked you, Maria replied. Because if we can turn enemies into friends, we never have to fight them again. Yennis was silent for a long moment. This is a strange philosophy. It has served us well. Over the following weeks, the tone of communications between humanity and the Concord shifted dramatically. Fear remained, but it was mixed with curiosity. Several races began to see humans not as a threat, but as a puzzle worth solving. Dr. Samuel Burke found himself giving interviews to alien scientists who wanted to understand human technology. Your weapons are impressive, a Tauren researcher named Chris said, but your drones interest me more. They think for themselves? Within limits, Samuel explained. We give them objectives and rules. They figure out how to achieve the objectives while following the rules. It's not true intelligence, but it's close enough for military purposes. You trust machines to make life and death decisions. We trust machines to carry out our decisions, Samuel corrected. Humans always decide if and when to fight. The machines just do the fighting for us, so your people never face danger. That's the goal. Human life is precious. We won't waste it if we don't have to. Chris considered this. Most species see dying in battle as an honor. See coming home safely as an honor, Samuel replied. Different philosophy, I suppose. Meanwhile, Commander Diana Cole was dealing with an unexpected consequence of the victory. She had become famous. Her name was known across the galaxy as the commander who had shattered the Draxel fleet. Alien species who had never met a human knew her face. I don't like this, she told Kevin Marsh. I'm not a hero. I just gave orders. You won the most decisive naval victory in galactic history without losing a single crew member, Kevin pointed out. People tend to remember that kind of thing. The engineers won this battle. The scientists, the people who built the weapons and designed the tactics, I just pushed buttons, pushed them at exactly the right time. Diana sighed. She had never wanted fame. She had become a soldier to protect people, not to be celebrated. But she understood that she was now a symbol, whether she wanted to be or not. A symbol of what humanity could do when pushed. In Geneva, Maria Santos was working on the next phase of her plan. The Galactic Concord had asked for a formal meeting. All 7 member races would send representatives to discuss the future, relationship between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. It was an opportunity. It was also a risk. One wrong word could restart the conflict. One misunderstanding could lead to disaster. Victor Reyes advised caution. We should negotiate from strength. Make them understand that attacking us again would be suicide. They already understand that, Maria replied. Now we need to show them that we're worth having as friends, not just feared as enemies. She spent days preparing for the meeting, studying each alien species, learning their customs and concerns. She wanted to understand them as well as she understood humans. The Draxial respect strength, she noted. The Tauren value wisdom. The Valkyrie prize efficiency. The Korath appreciate patience. Different values, different approaches. But all of them want the same basic things. Security for their people, prosperity for their worlds. Can we give them that? Harade asked. You can try, Maria said. That's all any of us can do. Try to understand each other. Try to find common ground. Try to build something better than what we have now. She looked out her window at the stars. Somewhere out there, 7 alien civilizations were watching humanity, trying to decide if they should be friends or enemies. Maria intended to make that decision easy for them. 1 year had passed since the Battle of Earth. In that time, the galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. The great meeting between humanity and the Galactic Concord had taken place 3 months after the battle. It was held on a newly constructed space station called Unity, built jointly by human engineers and Tauren architects. The station floated in neutral space, a symbol of what cooperation could achieve. Ambassador Patricia Lane led the human delegation. She was 62 years old, a career diplomat who had spent 4 decades negotiating everything from trade disputes to territorial claims. But nothing had prepared her for this. 7 alien species sat across from her in the council chamber. Some of them had wanted to destroy humanity just months ago. Now they were discussing partnership. Terms are acceptable. High Arbiter Yennis announced after 3 weeks of negotiation. The Tauren will join the Human Concord Alliance. Patricia allowed herself a small smile. Earth is honored to welcome the Tauren as partners. We look forward to learning from your ancient wisdom, and we from your remarkable creativity, Yennis replied. You are a young species, Ambassador Lane, yet you have achieved things that took us millennia to understand. It will be fascinating to see what you accomplish in the centuries to come. The Tauren were not the first to join the alliance. The Valkyrie had signed on within weeks of the battle, impressed by humanity's efficiency and precision. The Korath followed soon after, drawn by the possibility of shared scientific advancement. Even some Draxel clans had expressed interest. Though the Empire as a whole remained cautious. On Earth, life was slowly returning to normal. The fear that had gripped the population during the crisis faded as it became clear that the threat was over. Children went back to school. Workers returned to their jobs. The military stood down from high alert, but some things had changed forever. Dr. Samuel? Burke received a message one morning asking him to visit the Tauren homeworld. Their scientists wanted to understand human technology better. More importantly, they wanted to share their own discoveries. They have materials science, That's 3,000 years ahead of ours, Samuel told Maria Santos during his briefing. Energy systems we've never imagined. Medical technology that could extend human lifespan by centuries, and they're willing to share it. Maria asked. They're willing to trade, Samuel corrected. They want our drone technology. Our AI systems, our approach to problem solving, apparently the way humans think is considered quite valuable. Aya laughed. The galaxy spent 30 years thinking we were weak because we preferred peace. Now they want to learn how we think. Ironic, isn't it? It was the very qualities that the Concord had seen as weaknesses, humanity's creativity, adaptability, and refusal to accept unnecessary death, had turned out to be their greatest strengths. The elder races were beginning to understand that there was more than one way to be powerful, Commander. Diana Cole had retired from active service. She did not want the fame that came with her victory, and she did not want to become a symbol of military might. Instead, she took a position at the new Interspecies Academy, training the next generation of human officers to work alongside alien allies. The goal is not to fight, she told her students on the first day of class. The goal is to make fighting unnecessary. Every conflict is a failure. Every battle means something went wrong before guns were ever fired. Your job is to prevent those failures. But what if we can't prevent them? A young cadet asked. Diana looked at her class with serious eyes. Then you end the conflict as quickly as possible, with as few deaths as possible, and you work to make sure it never happens again. War is not glory. War is tragedy. Never forget that. Her words would be quoted for generations on the colony world of New Helsinki. Farmer named Tom Riley was dealing with an unexpected visitor. A Quarth scientist had traveled across the galaxy to study human agriculture. Your crops grow so efficiently, the alien said, its body rippling with curiosity. Your soil management is remarkable. How do you produce so much food with so little land? Tom scratched his head. He was not used to being consulted as an expert by alien scientists. Just good farming, I suppose. We've had a lot of practice. Your species eliminated hunger on your homeworld in less than 2 centuries, the Quarth observed. We have been trying to solve that problem for 8,000 years. We would very much like to learn from you. Tom thought about that for a moment. Then he smiled. Well, pull up a chair, I guess. This might take a while. Back on Earth, Maria Santos was preparing for her final act as Secretary General. She had decided to step down after 5 years in office. The crisis was over. The alliances were stable. It was time for new leadership. Her last official act was to address the United Nations General Assembly. 5 years ago, we faced destruction, she said, looking out at the assembled delegates. An alien fleet demanded our surrender. They believed that peace was weakness. They were wrong. She paused, letting her words sink in. We showed them that peace is not the absence of strength. Peace is a choice we make because we understand the cost of war. We can fight. We prove that beyond any doubt. But we choose not to, because we know that building is better than destroying, that healing is better than hurting, that friendship is better than fear. She gestured toward the window, where the stars were visible in the darkening sky. Out there, 7 civilizations are learning to see us differently. They came to us as enemies. They are becoming our friends. Not because we conquered them, not because we forced them, because we showed them a better way. Maria stepped back from the podium. I am proud of what we have accomplished. But our work is not done. It will never be done. Every generation must choose peace. Every generation must be strong enough to defend it. And every generation must remember that the greatest victory is the one that never requires a single shot to be fired. The applause lasted for 10 minutes. 5 years later, the Human Concord Alliance had grown to include 11 species. Trade flourished between worlds that had never communicated before. Scientific breakthroughs came faster than ever as different civilizations shared their knowledge. For the first time in galactic history, the future looked brighter than the past. In a small town in Vermont, former Admiral Victor Reyes sat on his porch and watched the sunset. He had retired after the crisis, returning to the quiet life he had always dreamed about. His days were filled with gardening, reading, and occasional consultations with the Defense Council. A letter had arrived that morning from Commander Cole. She wrote about her students, about the progress of the Alliance, about the changes sweeping across the galaxy. She ended with a question that Victor thought about for a long time. Do you think we changed them, or did they change us? Victor picked up his pen and wrote his reply. Both, I think. That's how it works. When different people come together, everyone changes a little. The trick is to make sure the changes are good ones. We showed them that peace can be strong. They showed us that we're not alone in the universe. Both lessons were worth learning. He sealed the letter and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity's ships were traveling between worlds, carrying traders and scientists and diplomats. Somewhere out there, alien children were learning about Earth in their schools. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was becoming a little less hostile, a little more connected, a little more hopeful. The Galactic Concord had demanded conflict. Humanity had responded without delay. And then, having won the war, they had done something the galaxy had never seen before. They had won the peace.